Crane, thank you for joining and talking to us about leadership. So before you talk about the Cubs and the culture you've built, who are some leaders who've inspired you?
I've been lucky. I've had a lot of really good leaders. The person who gave me my first real job at Tribune Company, John Madigan, and then Sam Zell, who I worked for, somewhat notorious owner, but turned out to be a great leader. And I'd say the things I really took from each of them. One is positivity. I mean, coming in every day with a positive outlook on the business, the people, the mission. I think it's hard to follow somebody who's not positive on a regular basis, not meaning not to be Pollyannish, not to be naive, but still positive. I think both of them and others that I've admired had great resolve. Again, there are times to pivot off of a plan when it's not working, but general resolve around getting something done. Humility, pretty important.
There's a lot of great technical fits out there when hiring for a role, but how do you make sure you hire for people who are positive, people who are willing to take risks? It's not always easy to see that in an interview process.
Yeah, I think the interview process is multi-phased, right? There's the paper process, which is the qualifications really, and then the real work comes in with firms like yours helping us to get behind the numbers, get behind the paper, and find out does the person's culture and personal ethos fit with the culture we're trying to develop. Because I think the worst fits, and I've hired plenty that were not good fits, are where you have somebody who's maybe incredibly intelligent, incredibly forward-thinking, but doesn't understand the team concept. And I think for us, hiring is so much more about fit. I think there are incredibly talented people that are the wrong fit, and incredibly talented people that are the right fit. And when you get both of them matched up, that's when we have our superstars.
Yours is a culture that's different than a lot of sports teams. Many sports teams look only at talent within the sports industry, and you've certainly hired plenty of those. But you've also gone outside of sports for many hires. Why, and in what cases?
So I think our brand is a little different. I mean, we're not unique, but I think there are a handful of brands that sort of transcend the sport they're in, and then in the market that we're in. So obviously, third largest market in the U.S., huge major media market, and this incredibly passionate following that our fans have. If you go back, we're one of the original teams that founded baseball in 1876. The only team that still plays in its original hometown. We had a long drought, right? We're 108 years, and yet our fans have showed this incredible allegiance, passion, faith in the organization. So, with all that currency that our fans have given us, we look at our business as something that begins with sport and begins on the field, but really can leave. And as you know now, we've opened hotels and restaurants, launching our own network, and so. When I start thinking about the type of talent that we need to have inside the Cubs, certainly it begins with sport, but since we are going to be in the hospitality business, the entertainment business, we do a lot of live music. I tend to find sometimes that someone who's had their whole career in sport, where they say, listen, I'm going to bring the playbook from my last team, I'm going to change the cover page and make it the Cubs playbook, and given that we humbly see our boundaries as somewhat pushed out, we'll grab somebody from a CPG business. We'll grab somebody from, investment bank, private equity, somebody who's maybe touched on sports and ideally has some of it in their background. And our recent hire that you helped us with, right, from Gatorade, which is obviously sports brand, although not a team. And so she certainly knows how to work with athletes and clubs and owners and team presidents, and yet doesn't really come from the traditional background.
Sure. And when you look at sports teams, they're small businesses if you measure them classically, and yet you're bringing backgrounds in from multinational, large P&Ls. How do you make sure that person has the entrepreneurial knack as well, not just going to sit in the strategy room?
Right, and maybe going from a $100 million annual budget to a $5 million annual budget. So that's an interesting fit. But here's what I would rather do. I would rather take that person with an amazingly broad background and experience and fit them into our maybe slightly smaller world, because their views on opportunity are broad. And I think, so whether it was the person we just hired, the person before her who came from CPG business, several of the people you've worked with in our shop who came from large firms here in New York, they see opportunity. They've seen sort of they've seen practice at the highest level. Like typically what you see as you go upscale in terms of size is a lot of professionals trying to do things extraordinarily well. They may only get paid if they're world class in what they're doing. So if you tell me I can have a world-class athlete join our team that will have to narrow a bit their scope, I will take that over somebody who's come up from a much smaller business who doesn't have the experience in seeing what greatness looks like. And so we love recruiting people who've seen greatness, whether it's in sport or in another field.
Crane, I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking time and spending it with us.
Yeah, great. Good to be here.
Thank you.